Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is part 2 of 2 of What If Deku Had a Dark Summoner Quirk. And as always, if you guys enjoy, please show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. And yeah, make sure to check the links in the description for basically the Spotify, for the Discord, also for the membership if you want to support me any further. But obviously, if you guys just leave a like, subscribe, and all that stuff, that helps me a ton as well. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into the finale of this series. So let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is about to take on and/or kind of go to the internship of Mirako. And this is going to be a pretty damn interesting internship, especially because when regarding Mirako, there is quite a bit of things to go on. Because Izuku, well, he wants to learn how to utilize that Shadow Wolf form that he's been trying to figure out. But at the end of the day, it's been a very difficult task for him. The longevity of it, the stamina of it, and every aspect of it seems to be getting more and more difficult, and seems to be just getting flat out harder than he thought it would be in the first place. So he wants to learn and figure out if he can even stretch the boundaries of that same form. So for days on end, he would train with Mirako. Days and days and days. That's all they would do, is train with this form. He would get some rest time, he would try to recollect himself, and then he would train more and more and more. It's insane the progress that he is making, but it's not like he is learning anything new necessarily. He's just kind of learning how to kind of uphold this power that he's trying to utilize, trying to uphold the power that he's trying to come up with. And Izuku, well, he's having a massive benefit from this, but he's actually far away from something that he doesn't know or didn't know that he could have been involved in. And that is a very, very bad thing in Hosu City. But what he doesn't know is that he gets a warning of this pretty damn soon. He gets a warning of this, and he doesn't understand where it's necessarily from, but he feels this presence of multiple people or multiple creatures that are of the undead variety, and it seems to be calling to him. He tells Mirako that in a location not too far away, or it seems to be near Hosu City, there seems to be quite of an invasion of a ton of different nomus and a ton of different evil-like creatures, in which she thinks that, well, let's go check this out. Well, they would go check it out and realize that there is an actual, absolute catastrophe going on as they speak. So they head over there and they try their best to do something about it. They try their best to kind of handle it to an extent. And Izuku even comes across the hero killer, but also also Tenya Ida, his literal classmate. His classmate about to be killed. And it's a shocking event. But in one foul swoop, Izuku is able to save his classmate Tenya Ida, and mostly save him with the usage of his Shadow Nomu. And as he sends his shadowy dark creature at the hero killer can't even necessarily keep up with the creature that is made to be as strong, if not, well, at least borderline as strong as All Might himself. And this is a pretty damn impressive feat, and the hero killer is in complete and utter shock at how this type of creature even exists. I mean, it is taking hits, any hits, it's not bleeding, and it is beating the absolute crap out of the hero killer, eventually leading to the hero killer getting teleported away into a prison cell and, well, locked away forever. And on top of that, well, Izuku saves his friend Tenya Ida from certain harm. Now, of course, we know that basically Todoroki would not be here most likely, just because he didn't actually utilize his fire side during their fight, eventually kind of meeting up or going into playing or being a team, quote unquote, or kind of going into an internship with his father. But that obviously doesn't happen. So we have a save from Izuku saving Tenya Ida, and this would lead them to actually having to get rid or stop the internship short because of the events that actually occurred. Now, with everything occurring and everything that's happening, Izuku and many others are still preparing for whatever's to come. And what's to come is the actual final exams. Now, the final exams isn't going to be a difficult thing for Izuku. Not really at all. He's pretty good at studying, so the written portion should be easy. But then when he goes up to actually face off with the practical exam, he actually has to face off with All Might. Yes, All Might. But guess what? This isn't just your typical run-of-the-mill face-off with All Might. This is a 1 versus 1. Well, sort of. Because Izuku would start a 1 versus 1 against All Might with his Shadow Wolf like kind of creature, where he would combine himself with the creature and they would take on All Might together. And with the help of, well, Mirko's training, it seems like he has gotten a lot better. Like, quite a bit better. More than most people would even imagine. So he's pretty damn impressive in the actual fray of fighting. And he's also pretty damn impressive when fighting these people. And it's pretty crazy to see, or pretty crazy to see how well he's keeping up with All Might in this new form. And the fighting style, it's so similar to Mirko that everyone even begins to point this out. Everybody begins to point this out. It's just insane that he's able to keep up with All Might to an extent, at least in this form. But eventually, All Might punches him so hard that the form breaks, and Izuku tells All Might that that isn't even his strongest being, that before he actually even arrived at the USJ, well, there was a creature that was supposedly there to actually kill him. A creature that was supposedly as strong as him, in which All Might tells the kid to bring it out. Show him what that thing could do, in which Izuku says that a shadow creature version of it means they're even stronger than normal, so he better be prepared for a fight. In which Izuku would send out the nomu, the shadow nomu, and everybody's in shock. That is the creature that they saw before, but it's a different version. Might even be more terrifying this way around, in which Izuku would basically tell the nomu to defeat All Might, but do not kill him. In which the nomu would begin fighting All Might, and it's pretty obvious that All Might is falling quickly short of expectation, and it's obvious that the nomu is taking a massive advantage, leading to Izuku actually just teleporting his way out of there, leaving and winning, quote unquote, by escaping, and then basically getting rid of the nomu, and also kind of just going through the easy way of winning the fight against All Might, in which All Might actually questions him a little bit, asking him why he would do that, in which Izuku says that he has no intentions of hurting All Might, no intentions of, doing anything crazy, hurting him, or like, basically putting him at some sort of disadvantage or anything like that, because he doesn't want All Might to be hurt. He doesn't want him to, feel like he's getting hurt or something along those lines. And he knows that All Might is just, trucking along. All Might is just working hard. And All Might is a real hero, and the last thing he wants to do is have All Might be hurt, right? So he wants to not, lay off the pedal a little bit in terms of actually fighting All Might, especially when it was shown right then and right now that creature would have been able to take him down if he was allowed to continue on fighting him. And that's the last thing Izuku wants, is for All Might to get hurt more than, well, he basically could have, or more than he should have. And Izuku just makes this very clear to him, and All Might respects this. He thinks, you know what, thank you very much, like blah blah blah, all that stuff. And this would lead them to the forest training camp. And the forest training camp is always a good time for training, unless you get invaded by actual villains, which it is a little bit awkward, but they do lack a little bit of the manpower. But they decide to actually send basically creatures and also some of the League of Villains, like Dobby twice and stuff like that, to this place of known as the Forest Training Camp, but their fatal mistake is not listening to proper orders when they actually decide to bring some nomus, believing that, well, it's not that big of a deal and blah blah blah. But what they don't know and fully know is that Izuku Midoriya is actually able to not only control these nomus, but he's able to completely take them over. But this is kind of, in a way, a plan that All For One is having, or kind of a plan that he's been thinking about, because this is something that he wonders if he can get a hold of. It might be the strongest thing they've really ever seen. If they can get a hold of the powers that Izuku Midoriya is showing off, if they can get a hold of the strength that he is portraying, I mean, this might just be one of the most insane things, one of the most potential based things that they have ever possibly dealt with. And All For One knows that there's a good chance that if they approach and or kind of do this and or kind of put him in a situation that will actually benefit them, or actually benefit them with this said quirk, it will be over for everyone. It will be over for every last person. And this right here is really, really insane. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of an insane thing to even think about the fact that, well, Izuku Midoriya's quirk itself could transcend and push forward everything that they're trying to do, and everything that basically All For One wants out of this kind of situation. Now, he does take the nomus. Izuku does take control over all the nomus that show up, and he even captures all of the villains that show up as well, not allowing the villains to even capture Bakugo or anybody else, and this leads to them, well, defeating everyone here. But All For One believes that if he's given an opening, he's given an opportunity, that it might just work. So what does he do? I mean, it's gonna be one of the biggest gambles he's ever done in his life. And Izuku Midoriya doesn't even know it's going to happen, because it all starts with the beginning of the end. Because Izuku Midoriya, his classmates, head back to UA, and All For One and All Might begin to fight on the big screen. Izuku watches closely and wonders, does All Might need help? In which he begins to see a ton of nomus arrive, and even a giant monstrous creature by the name of Gigantomachia, and Izuku believes that he might be able to even get control over all of them. He runs over and he leaves, flying off basically, or kind of teleporting off, I mean, and he goes through Kurogiri, teleporting away, and he arrives on the scene. He arrives as he basically arises a ton of different nomus, and they begin attacking All For One. And All For One sees this, and he looks toward Gigantomachia and nods his head. As he nods his head, Gigantomachia would go to attack All Might, and as he goes to attack him, All For One would get hit in the crossfire. But it seems like this was their plan all along. All For One would get smashed into the ground. Gigantomachia would begin to go into a frenzy, slashing and crashing into all of these undead nomus, and All Might would be in shock. Goes over to All For One to see if he's alive, and realizes that he's no longer alive, no longer available at this point. And Izuku looks and wonders, why did they do that? There's no way that a super villain like him would do this, right? There just doesn't make sense. In which they do talk for a bit, and All Might talks to Izuku for a second and says that the only way they're going to be able to defeat a creature like this and all of these other beings, I mean, they're going to need even more help. He looks at the body of All For One and looks at Izuku and says that if anyone is trusted enough to control that type of power, it would be him. But Izuku still has something in his stomach, something at the bottom of his stomach that is telling him that this is a bad idea, that this something is going to go wrong. But Izuku puts out his hand, and he can feel the shadows and the darkness immediately surge through him, and he would immediately reawaken an undead All For One. And as he does this, he feels something overcome him. He feels the power of All For One and other things creeping in on his mind. It seems like his head begins to start throbbing and his brain feels like it's splitting in half. And Izuku looks at the shadowy figure of darkness known as All For One, and it seems like All For One is beginning to take control. Trying to take control through the shadows themselves. Even the shadows begin to roar in pain. Izuku collapses to the ground, saying that whatever he did, whatever All For One is doing, he's somehow turning everything against him, and he's somehow changing what reality truly is, and he's trying his best to claw his way out. He's trying his best to stop what's occurring, and he's trying his best to figure out what's happening. And eventually, it seems like Izuku starts to slowly but surely succumb to the darkness, and eventually he stands up and he's shrouded in shadows, and he looks toward All For One, and then looks toward All Might, and he apologizes, saying that he's sorry. And Izuku's shadows would dissipate, and immediately as they would dissipate, they would flood toward a shadowy version of All For One, and All For One looks at All Might and tells him that he always has a plan, always knows what to do, and he's never surprised. He looks toward All Might and tells him that he messed up. He told the kid to do it, and on top of that, the kid knew. He could sense it. Deep down inside, he knew that it was a trap. He knew that there was something awry, that there was something going on that they didn't understand, and All Might's the reason why they fell for it, and All Might's the reason why they're going to crumble. In which All For One would begin his absolute army of nomus, changing them all into the undead shadows that Izuku could create. And now his creations are becoming even more powerful, and that even includes Gigantomachia. The creation of Gigantomachia into a shadow dark-like summon is now beginning, and it's now seemingly going to be a dark time for this world and a dark time for Japan themselves. He begins to awaken an army of nomus, and they have a vast amount of them, and heroes come out of the woodworks trying to stop it from occurring, trying to do something to stop what's happening. And All Might fights till his very last breath, fights to the very last minute, but eventually when he falls on the ground, laying there lifeless, he would stand back up, shadows covering him, and he once again would stand there. Once again would stand tall with his fist held high, but then he takes one thumb and points it to the ground, and as he points his thumb down, everybody sees it. This is what All For One was trying to do. This is what they fell into, and this is because of a simple mistake. What they thought was the potential of Izuku being one of the greatest heroes has now given one of the greatest villains, if not the greatest villain, the strongest power they've seen in a while. Now on the surface, awakening of the undead seems not as powerful as they would possibly imagine, but with an army of nomus, with an undead All Might, there seems to be nothing in the path of All For One, and the heroes, they have to find a way to somehow stop All For One without losing the lives of many of the other heroes. But quickly they realize that that's not going to happen. Even with a team up of all the heroes from the United States, from Japan, from even villains of the Shiha Zaikai, and even the villains of an unknown city that has been completely covered in people trying to get away, it seems like even all of them together, every last one of them, they would slowly but surely be chipped down, and without needing time to breathe, without needing time to rest, all of these shadows, every last one of them would begin taking over the entirety of Japan. Nomus at every corner, nomus at every station, and every single person would now have to bow down to All for One, would now have to bow down to the Shadow Emperor himself, All for One, in which everybody is in shock. They can't believe this. What's their last-ditch effort? What do they have to do? And they even take basically ideas from the entire world. Everybody talking amongst each other, everybody asking questions, some countries and some places believing that they have to prepare themselves and that Japan has to worry about themselves right now, in which they tell them that if Japan falls, the rest of the world will fall as well. They question why they would think that, but at the end of the day, when they fall, they will just arise back up, stand on 2 feet, and they will then hunt everyone else down, and that is not a threat. That is a spoiler. That is an end-all, be-all, and that's something that they cannot prevent. If their head hits the ground and they pass on, they will never, ever be able to utilize the power that they have ever again, and it will all be back to All for One, and they will be a creature and or a shadow and or a dark summon just like the rest of them. And no one can believe what just happened. And all it took was a singular mistake. The symbol of peace, who was once one that everybody looked up to, everybody cherished, is now a shadow and is now one of the most terrifying people and also threats they have ever seen in the world. But all they can think about is how. How do they stop this? What can they do? But luckily, there's a hero coming. A hero that will eventually arise, and a hero that may just be their ticket to somehow stopping this, or at least slowing down this progression. And this is Stars and Stripe. And as she arrives, she would start her battle with everybody. But it seems like she can't even do a single thing. But a last-ditch effort goes through her mind. Izuku Midoriya, where is he? Is he gone forever, or does he truly still exist? And she basically commands it. She basically makes a world order that Izuku Midoriya can now take control. And as she does this, she prays, she hopes, she wishes that something would happen, something would occur, and somehow Izuku could take control once again. And she waits as Gigantomachia, the shadow version of him, has all my beats and hurts every bit of her. And as she tries to dodge, weave, and move out of the way, she hopes something will work. She knows it will. She can feel it. Izuku Midoriya, it's time to wake up. All for One would laugh at her face, saying that Izuku Midoriya is no more. He is deep down into the nothingness of abyss. He does not exist. But the kid has made the greatest sacrifice. The kid has gifted us with something that nobody has ever seen. The kid has gifted everybody here the ability to truly see it all. The ability to truly be great and to truly change everything that is in front of them. And, well, let's just say Star and Stripe will stand there and say that there's no way. He has to be there. There's just no way he would let up, and there was just no way that he would give up such an opportunity. And Star and Stripe would call his name once more, and then he would appear, and Izuku Midoriya would begin to show. Shadows surrounding him entirely, but his green hair slowly peeking out, his eyes green as could ever be, and Izuku Midoriya, with his little smirk, would smile, and he would tell her, "Thank you," as he would raise his hands, and as the shadows all around them would begin to explode, as they would now be let go back into whatever they were, and as this is the end of every last one of them. Izuku would explode Gigantomachia as he falls over and passes on. Nomu after Nomu unable to even move, brains completely fried and gone into a different existence. All For One watches this as he collapses to the ground and perishes as well. Same with All Might and many heroes that fell short of trying to defeat them. And soon, Izuku's shadows would uncover him, and Izuku would have a full smile on his face and tell Star and Stripe that he's happy that they were able to be a hero, that he was able to be a hero one last time. The shadows would erupt, and so would he, as they would all collapse to the ground, heroes, villains, all alike who have been taken into the shadowy abyss, and he would lay there on the ground, not out cold, but gone. Izuku Midoriya, gone. The kid with endless potential, with powers unknown to the world, has now been defeated and has now passed on to the next life. Star and Stripe would stand there and would even salute him and would tell the rest of everybody in Japan that the war is over. But there's so much more to do, so much more to deal with. But Izuku Midoriya, he can't watch it because he's gone for now, and he's gone in the shadows just like how he wanted. Izuku would be absorbed within the darkness itself, his body no longer even existing on this plane, and everybody is watching, everybody is in shock, and everybody wonders, what was all that? Truly, it seems like they lost so much today, but it seems like they gained so much as well. Everybody from country to country now knows that there are creatures, there are people, there are things out there that they need everybody together to take them on, or it could just collapse into nothingness and truly could make things so much worse. And it basically tells the world that if they don't come together, there might be a villain, might be villains, and might be a person that might arise one day that will shut down and destroy everything that they have created. But yes, Izuku Midoriya's impact on the world might not be what he wanted to be or wanted it to be in the first place. But he now knows, even when he's gone, that at least the world will be a little bit more prepared for something else that could arrive. But for now, this is the end of the story of What If Deku had a Dark Summoner Quirk. And if you enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like and leave a sub and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.